Really excited to announce that our guest is Brooke Oliphant. Love Brooke and can't wait for everyone here to also get to know her a little bit. I'm not sure why I'm so blurry here. Sorry, guys. We're just going to have to live with it because I don't know what's going on here. But my name's Marla Merritt. I am the VP of Strategic Partnerships for OrthoFi. And I would love to hear see in the chat box from my team if you can hear me, since we are getting just a little bit earlier start than we typically get.
We have good audio and good video, Marla.
Perfect. Thank you, Lauren. We're going to give it just a few minutes for everybody to get in. I think we got started on our video just a little earlier than we typically do. Again, I am Marla Merritt, the VP of Strategic Partnerships for OrthoFi. We're going to have Brooke Oliphant joining us in just a minute, but let's just do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. You'll notice that you have both a chat and a Q&A in your menu. Make sure that for any questions, you're using the Q&A rather than the chat. Our team will be accumulating those questions throughout the night. And when we finish, when Brooke finishes, we'll jump in and answer some of those questions for you. And I know you're going to just love to hear Brooke's perspective on just how that, how you can just really shine in your practice. Still got a lot of people coming in. We got about 1 more minute till our original start time. Just to give you a little background of how this series started, the Industry Expert Series, OrthoFi did our big user meeting in February, and our theme was build windmills and not walls. And it was really just addressing the changes that are going on in practices today, the winds of change that are blowing. And those winds being the economy, competition, consolidation, and then just, of course, the staffing concerns that we all are facing. So we built a program around how to combat, how to use those winds of change really to fuel your practice instead of, letting them stunt your practice. And so we ended up with some really great sessions, and we just decided they were too good not to bring to the industry as a whole. So that's what this series is all about. And tonight we do have Brooke Oliphant. A little background on Brooke. Brooke is a lifelong entrepreneur and awarded treatment coordinator, now serving orthodontic practices as a sales and practice growth coach. Her company, Straight Up Sales Orthodontic Coaching, was founded with a vision of helping treatment coordinators become rock star sales professionals by elevating the client experience, improving confidence, and earning more same-day yes. She services practices of all sizes and levels and experience with an approach that is personal and custom. And as a speaker and coach, it's her goal to inspire others to take action and embrace the evolution of the orthodontic industry. I personally met Brooke about a year ago, and I've come to refer to her often as the closer because you'll know why at the end of this webinar. If you want to get more same-day starts and if you want to wow your new customers, Brooke is definitely your girl. And Brooke, I wonder if you're on here with me. I'd love to see your pretty face. Hello, Brooke.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we got a nice crowd here that I know is excited to hear what you have to teach. So we'll let you get started and then we'll jump on at the end. So again, everyone remember, put your questions in Q&A and we'll jump on at the end and let Brooke answer some of those questions for you.
Okay,
so much,
sounds
Brooke.
great. Thank you. Let me get this sharing with you. Does everyone see that? Are you seeing my presentation?
We do not yet, Brooke.
No. Okay. Despite trying this earlier, let's try again. How does that look?
There we go. Yep, we can see it now.
And is it full screen?
It is, yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, like Marla said, my name is Brooke Oliphant, and I am so happy to be here with everyone tonight. We're going to talk about how to perfect the 45-minute doctorless exam and a little bit about me. I started my first business when I was 19. I sold it before the economy crashed in 2008 and started another business when everything was a mess economically and had the opportunity to grow that. And then I worked with a startup pediatric practice for 5 years before moving into orthodontics, and then had a similar experience to most treatment coordinators, which was being kind of undertrained and rapidly trained, and then put in a position with a high level of stress and responsibility. And from that entrepreneur perspective, was looking at the sales process and the conversion rate, and just didn't like really the statistics. I didn't like how much work it was to see and then watch maybe 40 to 50% of people walk away. So I used the practices that I was in and my own background in business to kind of reevaluate and consider, what is it that the new patient really needs to learn and experience to go from a prospect to a buyer? How do we get them to say yes? And yes, same day, because as soon as they go into follow-ups, we know that statistically they're harder to convert, but it's also more work. And I've never met a treatment coordinator who loves their follow-up list. So in that process, I discovered a really unique approach to human connection and a question-focused consultation. And that is now what I share and teach others to do. And it's cool because it fits in every practice. So we'll jump right in to the benefits of incorporating doctorless exams. And I guess I'll back up a little bit. I was with OrthoFi when they were brand new, which was really cool, and got to use that dashboard and see my statistics in those ways. It's very motivating as a treatment coordinator to have that live perspective on your numbers and to see that, someone says yes right now, and the next person, and that was 100% conversion day. And what does that do to the numbers? So I love the platform from the perspective of just transparency and clarity for the treatment coordinator, and it being a motivational tool. But also from that perspective, asking more questions and really getting to know the people that I was meeting with, discovering what it was that they wanted and needed instead of just the script that I had to present, and then how to help them really solve their want, need, and problem with my doctor, earned more same day yeses. And in that process, what I discovered is that we can get to yes a lot faster. And so doctorless consultation for me as a treatment coordinator almost happened accidentally. It was this just getting people to yes in the first 20, 30 minutes of the consult, and then the doctor's coming in for the exam and we're ready to sign a contract, or we've already signed a contract. And so it was from that place that we discovered as a practice, and I discovered as a treatment coordinator, the possibility of it. And as an industry now, we're seeing that there's practices all over the place that are doing this. So benefits of incorporating a doctorless exam into your practice is that it increases your practice profitability. It simply does. Your shoppers want their time to be treated with efficiency. They want to get their answers as quickly as they can, understand what their options are, know the path for getting started. It gives the treatment coordinator and the team around the sales process the ability to be more efficient. You can see more consultations. So if those appointments are 30, 45 minutes instead of an hour or greater, which is what I'm still seeing in a lot of practices, you have an opportunity for additional consultations to be built into your template. It improves doctor time. If we were raising our hands right now, I know from working with treatment coordinators and orthodontists that to the best of our just trying as good as we possibly can. We're going to run behind sometimes, right? So doctor shows up late to the consultation. Now the treatment coordinator's running behind. And sometimes what happens in that pause moment is treatment coordinators apologizing, sorry, this isn't how we typically do things. We really pride ourselves on being efficient, managing time well. But that pause can be a reduced experience for your shopper. It could make it so that they keep looking. And now that we know that people are shopping 2, 3, 4 times before making a decision, you have one opportunity for your first impression to wow them, to be the most amazing, so that even if they go to other consultations, nothing is comparable to the experience that they had with you. So improving doctor time, making it so that we don't need to wait and run behind, but also so that the doctor is in the clinic, spending more time chairside, forming those relationships, running the clinic on time, and growing capacity. Because when we elevate our starts, we need to be able to treat those patients and continue that incredible experience from the beginning all the way through the end of their treatment. It also empowers your treatment coordinator as a leader. When I start working with treatment coordinators, and they maybe have their own limiting beliefs about money, but they also typically have some frustrations or challenges that are built into the design of the practice. Maybe the treatment coordinator has to step out of the consultation to ask questions or get permission to do something, which devalues their authority. And likely your treatment coordinator has ideas for how to better deliver an amazing experience to your patients, but maybe doesn't feel confident or like there's a space or ability to contribute those opinions to the practice. So again, moving into a treatment coordinator empowered consultation where we want our shoppers to be sold before money is discussed, and we're giving this incredible experience, really transforms treatment coordinators into longtime leaders for your practice. And in an economy where we're struggling with employment, really taking the valuable team members that you have and breathing life into their position and giving them an opportunity to positively impact the practice and their own career means that they're going to be with you longer. And then it elevates the new patient experience for all of those reasons. Now we're looking at a shorter appointment, so it's more efficient. We're getting to the heart of what it is that brought them into the practice faster, discovering if they're a good fit, solving their problem, giving them their financial options, and doing that as fast as possible. So I want everyone to value these truths about your new patient. They researched and chose to schedule with you, and they have other options, right? So they came to you on purpose. And that's really important for everyone to understand, and for you to even share that with your front office team. Like, these people aren't calling by accident. And if that first impression isn't amazing, and it is when they call somewhere else, that's probably where they're going to go. They're aware of their wants or their needs before they call you. Okay, so whether it's a referral from a dentist or they just looked in the mirror and decided they needed to do something about it, they came to this conclusion on their own or with the assistance of someone other than you, and they're coming through your front door with that awareness. Because they have other options, if they don't start with you, they'll start somewhere else. And I think that's important for everyone to just embrace that reality. Like, if they want treatment either for themselves or for their child, and it's not with you, then it will be elsewhere. And so that should be a motivator to really show up as your best self on purpose 100% of the time. We know in this economy right now that our shoppers care more about monthly affordability than the total cost. So I say this all the time, like $8,000 with an affordable down and affordable monthly payments is a better fit than $5,500 with a higher down payment and high monthly payments. So we really need to be looking. And again, using OrthoFi, you have this awesome slider, the ability to extend financing with an interest rate and choice for your new patient. You're able to show them their price and then give them options so that they're in the driver's seat for what that financial relationship looks like. It is awesome for the treatment coordinator and it's awesome for the shopper. And I really want every aspect of the new patient experience to be a win-win for everyone. If the treatment coordinator is winning, the doctor's winning, the practice is winning, and the patient is winning, then it's amazing all the way around. So you have one chance to deliver a wow experience that converts your shoppers to buyers. And what is it that you're selling? I think sometimes I hear from doctors especially that they don't like the idea of doctorless consults because the doctor needs to meet the patient. They need to do an exam, make sure they don't miss anything, or why would a patient want to do business with them if they don't meet the doctor? The answer is here. You're not selling braces and aligners. You're not in the business of selling metal and plastic. You're in the business of selling life-changing transformations. Your treatment coordinator is responsible for selling the doctor's expertise and skill set, selling the transformation, and selling a relationship. And when that's the focus, when you understand what it is that someone wants, needs, desires, what it is that they fear, what does it mean if they don't do it? We focus so much on what does it mean to get started? And here's all the benefits, but also what does it mean for them if they don't? And sometimes in identifying those and having a compare and contrast, you help people pick to do business with you because their desires are going to be solved with you better than anyone else. So earning trust and converting more shoppers into buyers same day comes by asking more questions, period. And as a treatment coordinator, I was trained like, here's the script. And there was so much to talk about that if the patient asked one too many questions, we were off track. And so it was almost scary to be asked a question. What if they ask a question I'm not prepared to answer? So there was kind of this intimidation even in the conversation. And what I discovered in asking more questions was that by engaging them and allowing them to share what they want, what they already know, what they think they know, what they definitely don't want, it actually eliminated a lot of the script. All of a sudden, you're able to just talk with your prospect, with each new patient individually, and meet them in their moment and truly meet their needs by providing information that is specific to their questions and concerns, as opposed to trying to fit them into a box and trying to follow a script that doesn't necessarily meet their expectations. You need to know what your new patient knows, what they believe, what they want, what they don't want, what they fear, and what they're really excited about. And if you're not asking questions, if you're not inviting them to share from the moment the consultation begins, you could be pointing them in a direction that they're not interested in, or you could be sharing valuable information that simply doesn't cross their T's and dot their I's. And then when you part ways at the end of the consultation, you don't know where it took a left turn. They probably don't trust you enough to tell you specifically why it is that they're walking away undecided. And all of a sudden, you've got someone in your follow-up pool that's probably never going to respond to you. And that's frustrating. That is the exhausting, disappointing aspect of being a treatment coordinator, of being in sales, that is highly avoidable when you change how you're approaching the sales conversation. The treatment coordinator, on behalf of the doctor and the practice, is the guide toward decision-making. And that comes by answering questions with questions. When the patient asks something and it's generic or it's open-ended, if you can answer it in more than one way, then it requires a clarifying question as a response. And you kind of go back and forth until you really understand what it is that they're looking to learn. And that way the information that's provided is what they really need to hear. which involves talking less. And treatment coordinators are awesome at talking. So are orthodontists. You come into the consultation, you could be there for 10 or 15 minutes because it's fun to connect with people and you want to be liked and you want to be trusted. But it's really interesting that as humans, what we know is that you earn trust faster by listening than by speaking. So by talking less, by being an active listener, by asking questions and answering questions with questions, you are able to sell a relationship and sell a transformation and give an experience that distinguishes itself above and beyond every other experience. So it's not that people aren't going to still shop around sometimes, and it's not that they aren't going to go home to discuss it with someone else or schedule to come back and kind of fall into that pool of people that could call back and cancel or reschedule. But by doing this, you will see a huge jump in your same day commitments. It's just amazing how many more same day contracts you get by talking less, asking more questions, and being an active listener. So we've got sales excuses that really limit growth potential. So if you hear yourself or anyone in your practice, if the conversations that are happening in your practice around your conversion rate and your sales numbers have anything to do with people shopping around, direct to consumer treatment, the economy, cost of treatment, competition, maybe insurance, like the list goes on and on. These are all things that you're saying to basically place a Band-Aid over the situation. It's a justification that is holding you back from looking at what's happening in the orthodontic community, within your own practice, and even within the economy as an opportunity. So if you can recognize that some of these things are being talked about, thought about in your practice, this is really an opportunity, a self-check to say, okay, let's stop holding ourselves back. These are limiting beliefs. These are reducing growth potential, and it's an indication of opportunity. How do we get in front of that? How do you take what's challenging and turn it around so that it's actually an opportunity? And that comes from understanding what today's orthodontic shoppers are looking for. So I will tell you, it is one single clear path forward. We know that there's patients who will do direct to consumer aligners. We know that there are practices that have almost 100% doctorless consultations. So there are examples in our economy of the orthodontic shopper being quick to make a decision and doing a lot of research on their own, deciding what it is that they want without necessarily being guided. And what that all comes down to is a single clear path forward. So if new patients are coming in for a consultation in your office and you are getting to the end of the consultation and giving them a choice in treatment plans, whether that's braces versus aligners, it'll give you the same end result. Or if it is extraction versus non-extraction, surgery versus not, limited treatment versus comprehensive. If the doctor or the treatment coordinator is saying, you pick whatever you want, we'll do it, or, you know, this would be best, this is also an option, then they're in no different of a position than they were in before they walked through your door. Because they have Google, they have social media, they've talked to different people, they've already done their research, they know their options. And maybe they don't know before coming in to see you which of all of those options that they've researched is their best path forward. And maybe what they really want is the only thing that they're going to do. Again, this is why we have to ask so many questions, but at the end of that consultation, they need one clear single path forward. And that is how you get to the same day yes. You cut through the noise, you make it simple, you show your confidence and authority as the director of their treatment and help them understand why that's in their best interest. So what are you potentially doing that's limiting your growth? If the doctor is participating in 100% of the consultations, then at a certain point, the practice meets a ceiling where there's only 60 minutes in every hour. And if the doctor is going to spend 5 to 10 minutes in the consultation, the rest of the time out in the clinic, at a certain point, you can't scale any further without either bringing in another doctor or creating time somewhere. So that is a motivator for adding doctorless consultations to many practices, is that it gives the ability to continue selling and scaling while protecting the doctor time. It could be that you have limited financial options. So I saw throughout the industry, a lot of practices' response to the economy was to increase the down payment or to tighten financing terms, to be really leery about extended financing, or to make it so that their patients had to apply for like a lender's financing if they needed something beyond the length of treatment, which of course means they have to qualify for that. And it also affects their credit. Those are fear responses. And that's another thing I love about OrthoFi is, just the ability to do the extended financing and set up the monthly payments and to give these options to your patients that make it so that it's affordable. I don't recommend discounting your top price or running crazy promotions or price matching or any of those kinds of things. Keep your fee where it belongs, where it's healthy and where it's a reflection of your talent and skill set, and then make the monthly payments and the down payment affordable for your shoppers. Maybe you're not incentivizing the same day start. Some practices do that with a bonus gift. Some do it in the way they make it very time efficient, very easy for moving from the consultation into the clinic, that same day start. And some do it with a financial discount. But if it's no different to get started today, tomorrow, next week, next month, why would they do it today? So I highly recommend that there is an incentive for, and that it's really communicated to your patients that this is special for our new patients for getting started same day. If you are running behind or delivering an inconsistent patient experience, of course, that affects on the sales side. So if someone's spending too much time waiting for their appointment to begin, if they're left alone in the consult space waiting for extended periods of time, if their appointment runs longer than they're told that it should, and then even throughout the patient experience, because again, we want raving fans starting day one, but all the way through their experience. I love when patients refer friends and family after the consult. I think that is every practice's goal, because it means they fell in love with you, they trust you, you have the know, like, and trust factor before anything's begun, before they see the end result, because that's in the future. That's faith. So if they're referring people to you right away, that is a huge compliment. And then that needs to continue throughout the experience. Do you have clear and motivating sales goals? I talk to a lot of practices that don't share numbers or don't really set goals for their treatment coordinators, or they have the same goal for every month, which we know is not motivating. Like June should dramatically outperform May, right? Like we should see some highs and lows, and all of that should add up to equal a healthy year. But the goals need to be reflective of what's possible and motivating. So if you don't have goals, if you're not incentivizing the treatment coordinator to meet and exceed those goals, then that is a place where you are definitely limiting your growth potential. And then if your treatment coordinator has limited sales authority, so you should have whatever is the ideal for your sales terms. And then your treatment coordinator needs to know how to deviate from those, like what wiggle room, without having to ask permission. Because the second your treatment coordinator has to step out of the room, you're basically training a new client that there is someone above your treatment coordinator with more authority that can break the rules on their behalf. So now when that patient is giving the clinic a challenge over something or the front desk a challenge over something, in their mind, they're thinking, well, I can go over this person. So we want to make sure that from that first impression that it's healthy boundaries, not setting the wrong impression. And so your treatment coordinator needs to not have to leave that space. So if it's splitting a down payment into two, if it is waiving a down payment to get siblings started the same day, if it is extending financing, whatever it is, those things need to be determined ahead of time so that your treatment coordinator knows where he or she can flex to earn that sale, and that they're trusted in that no one's going to come back afterward and say, why'd you do that? Because it's already been planned that is an option. So we need to design a consultation that creates raving fans. And I'm going to go through here key elements of your doctorless consultation. So really, what is the process and steps that make this possible? So paperwork and insurance verification completed prior to the appointment. OrthoFi is fantastic at that. I love their new patient paperwork, the questions that they ask, and the way that really helps in teeing up the treatment coordinator to start the consultation with just really good focus and intention on behalf of their new patient. So paperwork and insurance verification completed prior. It needs to be really easy, really efficient. And then a pre-consultation introduction from the treatment coordinator. So this is not a confirmation, a scheduling reminder, any of those things. It can be a texted video, it can be an email. That part is kind of based on the treatment coordinator's personality and the design of the practice. But the point is that the TC reaches out to the new patient ahead of time with a really brief, friendly introduction that invites them to have discussions with other financial decision makers ahead of time so that they can take advantage of whatever your same day start opportunity is for them. So again, whether that's a bonus gift, time savings for getting started same day, financial savings for getting started the same day, that needs to go out ahead of time so that people aren't surprised by it when they're in the consultation. If they know ahead of time, this is great. If they learn it in the moment, then it could feel salesy or surprise them and get some pushback. Begin with an office tour. The office tour is a walk and talk. It's not just this is the lobby and this is the drink station and this is where you brush your teeth, but this is an opportunity from moment one to be asking, using assuming language and inviting sharing. So how long have you wanted treatment? Are you excited to get started today? Here in the clinic, this is where all your future appointments are going to happen. And on this tour, especially if the intention is to be doctorless, then pointing out the doctor or even doing a quick handshake introduction with the doctor. That's huge. Now they've met and it's less weird that the doctor isn't going to come in during the consultation. You're going to use the new patient records to confirm need and answer questions. Again, we can all talk. We know, like, we're so smart. This is our industry. We can put photos and x-ray up on the screen and instantly dive in to all of the things that could be fixed and improved upon. But that is also a huge opportunity to put your own foot in your mouth. Because what if the one thing that matters to them is like the fifth thing that you point out? Well, now maybe they feel embarrassed. You've pointed out things they didn't even know were wrong, or you don't care as much about the thing that they care about as they care about. So maybe this isn't the place for them. There's just a lot of ways that can go sideways, and it's completely avoidable by inviting them to share using their photos and x-ray, which again, we know is vulnerable for people, allowing them to share and then validating what they're sharing. That's huge. Like just shifting, getting those pictures up right away and inviting sharing is going to earn trust so quickly for you if that's not something that you're already doing. And then from there, as they're sharing, it's a really easy lead in for discussing the different technologies that are available in your practice. And I say all the time, you're not selling braces or aligners, but your doctor, as a skilled clinician, as a smile designer, has specifically chosen different pieces of technology to move teeth. So while we're not in the business of selling plastic and metal, we are still going to talk about, based on what the patient is sharing, the reasons why your doctor has selected certain versions of treatment, right? This type of aligner, this type of bracket system to move teeth, because it is still an element of what sets you apart. And everything about what you're doing in the consultation needs to make it abundantly clear to your new patient that it's not apples to apples. Anywhere else they go, it's not just a different doctor, it's different technology, it's a different vision, it's a different end result. That needs to be really clear in everything that you're doing and saying. And then show finished cases that highlight your doctor's treatment style. So if it's a deep bite, some wear on the teeth, crowding, whatever it is, put up similar patient cases, show the befores and help show them. Look, you see how this is similar? These aspects are similar. Let me show you the finish. And when you show a couple finishes, all of a sudden, they don't need an exam from the doctor nearly as much as they may have thought they did, because the puzzle pieces have aligned for them. You're helping to connect their dots by showing them what's possible, what's coming, and it becomes really emotional and really special for them. And you'll see that enthusiasm and excitement elevate. And from there, after you're verbally confirming, okay, we can do what you're asking and we're going to go ahead with this style of treatment. And do you have any additional questions for me? Fantastic. Let's jump in and take a look at your financial options. Now, OrthoFi, in the new patient paperwork, the patients have the ability to identify on a sliding scale what matters to them most. So I'll back up a little bit and say that from the beginning of the consultation, once the treatment coordinator has looked at those and says, okay, I see that you're most concerned about down payment, or you're most concerned about comfort, you're most concerned about the length of treatment, tell me about that. Again, it shows that we're paying attention, it shows that we're looking at the information that they're providing, and it gets us to the heart of what they're concerned about right away. So if we're leaving a financial concern to the end of the consultation, whether this includes the doctor or is doctorless, your new patient is not going to be bought into anything else that you're talking about the whole time. It's all going to sound too expensive, too good, not really for them. So it is important that we make sure that what we're talking about, what we're addressing, and what we're inviting them to share is specific, again, to their primary concerns. So we're going to present cost and financing options, get that contract signed, and we're going to make getting started clear and simple. So whatever that looks like, if it's going straight to the clinic for a same-day start, if it's a same-day contract, and then scheduling to come back to start, if there's something that needs to be resolved before the contract can be signed, then it's getting them scheduled to come back. And I'll show you in a little while just statistics around why it is so important that we focus on that same day start. And if we don't earn that same day contract, that we're getting them scheduled. So, little sales fact here for you. It's not only what you do, but how you do it that earns trust and converts shoppers into buyers. So I'll tell my treatment coordinators that, of course, all treatment coordinators are friendly and they can make friends with all strangers and, make people feel comfortable, but it isn't personality alone that's going to earn that sale. So it is how we're doing things. And I talk to practices a lot of times that say, I've got great people and I really like my new patient experience. Like they can't actually identify, pain points or real problem areas. It feels like a good flow. And from their perspective, it seems like a good experience. But it isn't just what we're doing, but it's how we're doing it. your personality needs to shine. This isn't about scripting, and it isn't about trying to fit people into boxes. Everything that you're doing in your sales experience for your customers needs to be personal. You care deeply, lean in, sit next to your new patient, make them feel comfortable, make it clear that you're an advocate for helping them solve this want, need, and problem with your practice. And that all comes from letting your personality shine. The goals of your consultation should be on purpose, valuable, and personal. So definitely, when we're considering doctorless consultations, I hear this all the time, worried about the treatment coordinator being 100% responsible for the new patient experience. What if something is missed? I love the supernumerary impacted tooth, ankylosing, something like the doctors always jump to the extremes of those few scenarios that of course are complex and should have a doctor involved in the consultation. If you genuinely believe that your treatment coordinator is not skilled or knowledgeable enough or capable of handling consultations doctorless, this should be a wake-up call that your treatment coordinator has been undertrained. Because this is possible. It's not just possible, it's happening all across our industry every day. I did it for years. It is an asset to the business. It is empowering for the treatment coordinator. It is freeing for the doctor. It provides added financial value for the practice. And so if you're questioning whether your treatment coordinator could do this or not, this is a wake-up call. Now, doctor, maybe you don't like the idea. Lots of doctors do not like the idea of a doctorless consult because they either want to meet everyone before they get started, again, making sure that we aren't missing anything, or, kind of question, why would someone want to do business with me if they haven't met me? And I get that, but today's orthodontic shopper is looking for efficiency. This is why people are ordering treatment off of an app. So is that really a direct competition to private practice orthodontics? I don't believe so. Is it going away? No, it's not. But I also don't believe that it would ever replace private practice or doctor-led orthodontic treatment. But it is something to take into consideration. The way people shop, the way people research, what they know before they come and meet us has evolved. And that is an open door. This is an opportunity for us to change and improve, evolve the new patient experience to match and continue exceeding expectations of our shoppers. Before your shoppers become your new patient, I know we call them new patients, it's new patient exam, it's new patient consultation, but before they're actually a new patient and can start treatment, we first need to convert shoppers into buyers. So sometimes when I'm talking to practices that have a 50 or 60% conversion rate and they're struggling with some doctor time, running late, falling behind in the clinic, showing up to the consultation late, then I want to challenge thinking like you're spending maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes of your time with people who are not coming back and choosing to do business with you as much as 50% of the time. That is valuable time. We want to be protective of the doctor's time by empowering the treatment coordinator to earn buyers, to convert people before they form that relationship with the doctor for all of the cases where it's open and shut. So your TC can sell trust, relationships, and transformation on your behalf. And then there are different styles of doctorless exams. So you may be thinking like, well, how does this actually work? What does this look like? Are we telling patients when they call that that's what they're scheduling? So I don't recommend that. I definitely like when it's introduced to the practice, kind of starting initially, that all your consultations continue being scheduled as you are, and then that the treatment coordinator is predicting treatment ahead of time, kind of guessing with the doctor, stepping out to confirm, and in situations where it is very obvious, it's an easy treatment plan, that then the treatment coordinator is basically review and report. So step out, review it with the doctor, go back into the consultation, report it to the patient, answer additional questions, jump into the financials. And when that is comfortable, and the treatment coordinator is gaining confidence and really having a better education in the treatment planning and understanding how the doctor treatment plans, that is one way of having a doctorless exam, or the doctor is still involved in doing treatment planning kind of behind the scenes. We could also do sold before the doctor exam. So maybe doctor still wants to come in and do a quick 3 to 5 minutes, meet the patient, look around, just confirm things, have that little touch point, but we want it to be a little bit faster. Or maybe we're only going to do that with those who've signed a contract. So treatment coordinator is going to do doctorless, get the contract signed, then the doctor is going to come in and do a quick exam. That works in a lot of my offices. Or a doctor introduction post consultation. So it's as soon as the contract is signed, leave the consult space, doctor meets in the lobby, and then there's the celebration. Welcome to our practice. I look forward to treating you, forming a relationship with you. We'll see you at your next appointment. So you have different options. There is not one way. If there was one way, there wouldn't be different cultures and personalities and treatment styles throughout orthodontics. So if you're thinking in your head, this couldn't work in my practice, that's a limiting belief. It can, and it may just look different in your practice than it does in someone else's. So it's an opportunity to figure out how you would want to design and add this in. So again, unsure how to start? Make it a game. So between the doctor and the treatment coordinator, guessing treatment plans, how many can we do in a day, in a week, where, treatment coordinator is getting that contract signed at around the time that the doctor would be coming in to do an exam, and then incentivize it. So make it something that everyone's kind of on board and embracing the challenge and the newness, because it's fun and you're all in it together. It requires increased training. So getting involved, whether you're working with me, incorporating OrthoFi into your practice, and then, just working more closely with the treatment coordinator and other people on the team for understanding treatment planning, making sure that the quality of photos and x-rays are dialed in. Lots of opportunities, again, there for elevated training. And then keep track. So when I'm working with my treatment coordinators, it's a lot of just self-awareness. What's working, what isn't, what do I like, what's uncomfortable, what am I getting better at? We can tell ourselves a lot of stories if we don't really dig in and kind of keep notes, collect some data, and then evaluate. So again, it's about having fun. Your conversion rate is a direct reflection of your sales process. So I work with practices who are struggling, really low conversion rate, but I also work with practices that have an 80 to 90% conversion rate, because we can always better our best. If you feel like you're on easy street, you're getting too comfortable and you're kind of opening a door to fall behind, either in the industry and other opportunities, or to discover that your numbers are going backwards. So we still want to make sure that, kind of iron sharpens iron, that you're constantly looking for growth opportunities. I love OrthoFi statistics. I want to share this with you. As soon as a patient leaves, conversion drops 20 to 50%. So same day contract, same day treatment, we see 100% retention, which is wonderful. Same day contract and scheduled treatment, you have basically 1.5% fall off. So that is still really safe. And that's why I talk so much about same day contract. Even if your practice can't accommodate that many same day starts, we still want to be focused on that same day contract, because the second you schedule someone to come back and sign their contract and get started, you lose 20% of them. And if we're letting them walk out the door without anything scheduled, you've lost more than 50% of them. And we know people are shopping around. We know the importance of getting that same day contract. But I see a lot of times that people are, hey, call me back, or I get it. You need to go home and have that conversation. I'll touch base with you tomorrow. You have to get them scheduled. and really work for ways to get that same day start. So your goal, same day contract, and differentiate it in your practice that there is this difference between a same day contract and a same day start. So we still want that same day contract, even if you can't get that same day start. Even in this challenging economy, you can grow professionally, exceed expectations, become incredible at sales, and experience greater success. But change requires taking action in a new direction, which means it's a choice. No one's going to do this for you. It isn't going to happen to you. But if you're not being proactive in how to evolve and grow, you're going backwards. So I want to invite everyone to take action now. Information without implementation is simply information. And I'm happy to be an advocate for you, join your team and coach to help you implement these things and ensure that you see elevated success. You know, the OrthoFi is here to do that with you as well. So we're going to jump over and do some Q&A, and I'm excited to hear how I can kind of connect the dots for you guys.
Great, Brooke. That was fabulous. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
My pleasure.
And we've learned so much from you. A few questions.
Yes.
First of all, going back kind of to the beginning of your session, you talked about answering questions with questions.
Yes.
We'd love to hear just kind of a scenario, an example of how that could go, to give us an example of how that would work.
Oh, sure. Okay. The easiest would be, what's the difference between braces and aligners? So if someone asks you that, especially adults, we're seeing a lot more adult shoppers, right? And it could be that they really are hoping for aligners, but they want to know what's the difference. But just from that kind of simple question, we could answer it 100 different ways, right? Like you could talk for 10 minutes or an hour. Is that really what they needed to hear? And so, a question back would be, is it comfort that you're asking about, length of treatment, effectiveness, that the end result might be different? So you can kind of pose scenarios back that helps them to think and maybe reconsider what it is, or just better communicate what they want to learn. And that way, the answer that you ultimately give to that question is really to a point that would make it so that they could make a decision.
Right. Great. That's great. So what if so you've got a treatment coordinator that's trying to implement this, and then they get a question that they don't really know how to answer, and the awkwardness that can present, and does that make them look less qualified? So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I don't like the fake it till you make it as like really a way of doing business. But I do think that there's ways of confidently and politely navigating when someone is, if they present something that you can't quite answer. So part of that is just the treatment coordinator being comfortable in their own skin and trusting the process. But I think as you're building this into your workflow, the doctor is still there. So if it becomes a consultation, if the intention was for it to be doctorless and it ends up in some murky water and it's appropriate for the doctor to be included, that needs to be part of the kind of the protocol within the office. The treatment coordinator would have a way of communicating to the team or stepping out and getting the doctor, and it becomes an exam that includes the doctor.
Right. I like that, being comfortable in their own skin, and just the more they get the experience of this, it'll become easier and easier, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah, it's practice, but it's also, I think, if we forget that it's just a human to human interaction, and it's like, I'm performing, or everything that I do and say matters so much, or I have to sell this, then it becomes you against them. as opposed to a collaboration. You're working together. So if the treatment coordinator is really creating this safe space and energy within the consultation of like, they can share and ask questions, the treatment coordinator can share and ask questions, then all of a sudden, if something's presented that the treatment coordinator doesn't have 100% confident answer to, you've already created this safe space of like, oh, that is a fantastic question. You know, that's actually something that they're going to cover probably 6 months into treatment. So if you're okay waiting for that information, it's actually not something that we would need to cover to help you get started. Like sometimes there are like, just polite, appropriate ways of stepping around something if it isn't really a starting line piece of information.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a question here. How many times would you follow up with a new patient when they say no at the new patient exam? And do you recommend phone, email, text, or what combination?
Most people don't like phone calls anymore. I recommend that you ask people how they like to be communicated with and then only communicate with them that way. So if someone's like, I never answer my phone, text or email me, then the treatment coordinator should only text and email. And if the treatment coordinator is still including phone calls in that protocol, it tells the person that they're not paying attention. So I think just asking how people like to be communicated with is good. If someone gives a hard no during the consultation, I want to make sure I understand the question correctly, because it's different if they're undecided and going into pending. If someone says no during the consult, this isn't for me, I can't afford it, I'm going to go look somewhere else, this isn't what I was looking for. Like there are some times where you're just not for everyone, and that's okay. I like treatment coordinators asking for no, that there is that additional option, actually, that it can be yes today, yes soon, and we know what problem needs to be solved. So if they're going into pending, why? And that should be something that's solvable. And then if it's not either of those, is it really no? Like what's holding them back from any version of commitment and kind of communicating where they're at? If it's a no, that parting should just be super friendly. Thank you so much for taking the time. It was a pleasure to meet you. I wish you the very best. Or maybe it's appropriate to refer them to someone else who's going to be a better fit. And then there's no follow-up there, because they were a no. Now, if they're in pending, I think that you should have 6 to 8 points of contact with them in the first 2 weeks. And mostly just text and email, just quick, friendly little touch points very frequently, because that's the world that we live in now. Like you can't even leave something in your Amazon shopping cart anymore without getting like an email 15 minutes later, you forgot to finish this, right? So we're kind of programmed as people now to be very communicated with. And so if you're still doing and kind of an old school approach to following up and leaving that for 1 day a week or once a week, you are missing an opportunity for capturing people out of your pending list.
Right. Okay, that's some great advice, Brooke, and I like the way you assigned the numbers to it and the process, and that's fantastic. So there's a question here. So if you're reducing your consult time to 45 minutes and if they've been longer, is there do you recommend hiring additional backup for the TC because she's going to be more busy? Like, do you recommend additional support for how do you kind of play that out?
I do. So I've experienced both as a treatment coordinator. I was the one who did my own tour and took my own records and then had to process and load. It leaves the patient alone a lot more. So I think a lot of times the reason why we need an hour-long consult is just to kind of leave the person sitting alone for 3 minutes here and 5 minutes there for the other processes. So when the treatment coordinator has a records assistant, has like kind of a dedicated person who's going to be waiting and greet the person in the lobby, all of a sudden, this is a Disney or Ritz-Carlton experience. paperwork's completed ahead of time. We don't want our patients to have an experience in our offices that feels anything like going to any other doctor's office, right? So if they can be greeted by someone who's waiting for them by name, go on a tour, go directly to records, and then get passed off to the treatment coordinator, then photos, records being loaded in the background for the treatment coordinator as they're beginning that conversation, everything flows really nicely. And it creates a kind of a buffer. It makes it so that the treatment coordinator could run over. So say one of those 45-minute appointments does require the doctor, is complex, and does end up being an hour. Well, all of a sudden that next consult started on time. And it's as if things behind the scenes aren't different, so I highly recommend that.
Okay, great. I think this is a similar question, but I'm trying to read it here. My
Okay.
office currently takes digital models, panoramic x-ray, and photos before the doctor sees them,
Mhm.
shows them a simulation of their projected treatment results versus current teeth locations. How would you change this type of consult setup?
So the treatment coordinator should be showing at least the photos, the intraoral photos and facial photos prior to the doctor. I see this a lot. Like they're really waiting in the consultation process for the valuable discussion around, making improvements to the smile for when the doctor comes in. But that also keeps the doctor in the consultation for a lot longer because all of the first questions, every question the patient has is getting directed at the doctor, even if those are things that the treatment coordinator could have answered. So just get the photos up on the screen right away and invite sharing from the patient. And that way the treatment coordinator has learned really valuable things to share with the doctor. And that's how sometimes you end up with it being doctorless. Like the treatment coordinator could step out and say, hey, they want braces. This looks pretty straightforward. What do you think? And the doctor's like, yep. And then the treatment coordinator just goes back in and says, okay, we're good to go. Like doctor just checked everything out. You look healthy, or if the doctor is going to come in and do an exam, at least the treatment coordinator can share, these are fears. This is what they already know. They've been to other consultations. Or it's an adult and they're not going to do treatment unless it's aligners and it's a year or less. Right? The doctor needs to know that because otherwise the doctor could come in and say, oh, this would be a great braces case, 16 to 18 months and the patient's gone. Right? So treatment coordinator needs to be kind of an advocate for the doctor and the patient of just fact finding, so that it can all work out better.
Back to those questions.
Yes.
Great. So for the doctorless exam, how would the TC generate? So you've got the new patient letter to patient referral to the GP for doctor's exam. Like, what about the letters that need to happen surrounding that?
Yeah. So some practices are waiting and doing informed consent, like at the first appointment with the doctor, because that's when you're actually like confirming treatment plan or the doctor's discussing treatment plan with the patients. And that's why I do have some practices where just because of legality in their state, they're doing the quick doctor meet and greet, either right at the beginning, even if it's part of the tour, or after the contract is signed, so that you can still generate those letters and do the informed consent.
Okay, great. We're almost out of time, but there are a couple questions around informing the patient in advance or asking them, do they want doctorless or doctor, that kind of information up front, and should they do that? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as the last question.
Okay. I don't believe that that's necessary because I think that you're going to approach every consultation as if it could be doctorless or include the doctor. So the treatment coordinator, once the patient is there, can say, okay, we've looked at your photos, you have an understanding of your treatment options, or we know that you prefer this methodology over the other. I'm going to step out and, chat with the doctor really quick, get the recommendations and come back and share that with you. Does that sound good? So in the moment you're sharing, and if the patient says, yeah, and when do I get to meet the doctor? Or when's the doctor going to do an exam? Then that's one where the doctor is going to come in. And if someone says, no, that sounds fantastic, and you come back in and give the recommendation and go into financials and they're good. So it's really just reading people in the moment. But what I've seen when it gets offered as an option up front is that feels weird to the patient. They don't necessarily know what to pick. And it seems lesser to do a doctorless, like, why would that even be offered? So it gets a lot of pushback to the front, where if it's just explained as it's happening, once they're in the practice, they know the doctor's there, they saw the doctor on the tour, it's actually very comfortable and easy.
Great. Love that. Well, Brooke, the content was fabulous, and your answers to these questions were also fabulous. Lauren, if you don't mind, put the slide up on the screen if you could. And while we're waiting for that, I want to let everyone know that we do have this series. So look for future webinars. I know we have one coming up on May 24th, where I believe Michelle Shimon will be joining us. So we'd love to have you in that one as well. And I don't see the slide yet. We will be sharing an offer for if you set up a demo with OrthoFi. You can, so first of all, we do have this webinar on May 24th and also the masterclass. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. We have our masterclass this week, actually, in Nashville with Tina Byrne. So probably too late unless you're in Nashville to jump on over and join us. But then also, Lauren, to the next screen, we also, if you want to scan this QR code, we have the first 3 practices that sign up for a demo will receive 50% off their implementation, or anyone who uses this QR code to sign up for a demo will receive $2,000 off their setup. So if you've not taken a look at OrthoFi or haven't taken a look in a while, this would be a great time to do that. And we'd love to just show you what's changed and how we're growing and changing and getting better every day. And we'd love to help you start more smiles. And Brooke, I'm sure that just as we would love to help them start more smiles, the information you've provided today will help these practices do that as well. And we'll also be sharing Brooke's contact information as a follow-up to this email if anyone would like it. Thank you so much, Brooke.
Awesome. Thank you.
Talk to you later. Thanks.